to another one. I wasn't even planning on making a video today, but I borrowed this. This is the TT Artisan 100mm f2 bubble bokeh lens apparently, and I've got it on the 5D Classic. And I've just been walking around getting some photographs. And what I'm seeing on the screen, obviously you're going to be seeing the photographs before I do, but for what I'm seeing on the screen, it actually has a really nice look to it. So this goes nicely into the topic of this video, which is not just TT Artisan, but these Chinese manufacturers in general. Their focus seems to be less on the clinical sharpness, which is what all of your main manufacturers seem to be going for, but they're going for character, and it seems to be something that's actually quite popular in recent years. I mean, I remember, say it's like 2010 to 2020, all people wanted was that clinical sharpness, better coatings, blah, 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 blah. Now, it seems like people are all about the character. There's been a resurgence of film. There's been, these older cameras, and especially the point and shoot cameras. People want something that just looks cool as opposed to something that's clinically sharp. And I think this is where these things are winning the game. You've got 7 Artisans, TT Artisans, SLR Magic, Mica, a whole bunch of these manufacturers who are making these types of lenses. And this one's actually really good. It's 100mm, f2.8, it's not a macro, it's got a minimum focus distance of about 90 centimeters or about 3 feet, give or take. If it was a macro, I think it would be awesome, but then obviously you would kind of lose some of the bubble bokeh effect. I don't think I've actually got that effect to work on this. But again, it's probably much like the Helios 44 lenses, whereby if you don't get the conditions just right, your distances need to be right between the camera, your subject and your background. That's probably when it's going to kick in. I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet. But I have had some fun effects by the looks of it though. I recently made a video about the 35mm f1.4 from TT Artisan, and I thought that was a fantastic lens on APS-C, and I think it's a fantastic lens on Micro Four Thirds. It's very sharp, surprisingly so. Even at f1.4, it's plenty sharp enough. And you get it down to like 2.8 and on f4, it is absolutely bonkers. It's like doing sun stars at like f4. It's crazy good. The downside of all of these lenses, and probably the reason why they're cheap, as I indicated in that video, is that they don't have the electronics and it's all a manual kind of experience. But again, going back to like this is a full frame lens. In fact, this one, incidentally, they've made this on an M42 mount, which I think is an interesting choice, because it means that no matter what camera, modern camera, you use it on, you have to adapt it. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice. I've got, most of my vintage lenses are M42, and I have adapters for Sony, I have adapters for Canon, I have adapters for Micro Four Thirds, and they all work great, and they all look great. Different obviously on the different size sensors, but they all work. Now this being an M42 lens means that it can be used on any system, especially any mirrorless system. And I think that's a big strength. It's universal across the board, it has been for decades. And people can just buy this and use it on practically anything, especially like myself, where you've got multiple systems on the go. I can use this on a Micro Four Thirds system and then get that kind of 200mm look. I think that's great. I think that's a really good thing to do. All right, so I realized while editing this that I was being about as clear as mud, because that guy had clearly had far too much coffee and was far too excited about that bubble lens. The point I was trying to make was that these companies are making things that your big companies simply aren't making. Your big companies, your Canons, your Sonys, your Nikons, your Fujis, they're all ploughing their money into making the best possible lenses for their respective systems. These companies don't have to do that. They don't have a system, they have all of the systems, and they also have access to all of the older lens designs, which is what a lot of them are using, which is why you're getting some of these quirks and optical flaws within the lenses, like the bubble bokeh. These lenses to me are your modern vintage lenses. These are the inexpensive manual primes that have these specific quirks and flaws that people love. They're not supposed to be a replacement for your high-end pro super sharp gear. They're like a complement to it, from an artsy point of view. That's kind of the point. Let's get back to Mr. Excitable. But I think this place, I think where these lenses sit, especially like the TT Artisan Trio, you've got your 17mm f1.4, your 35mm f1.4, and your 50mm f1.2. I think that's where these lenses really shine. Having that fast aperture on a manual lens, they're all pretty small and they're all really well made, metal and glass. It's all, it's no nonsense, no plasticky garbage. They're really, really good. So I advise anybody to have a look at these lenses, whether you've been in the game a long time like I have, or whether you're just getting into the game and you want something fast because it's cold to get the blurry backgrounds and all that sort of business. These lenses represent a really good value for money option. And some of these lenses have those quirks and characteristics that you would expect from lenses like your Helios and such as that. You're getting a little bit of a swell on this and it's really, really nice. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to break the bank. I mean, I know the Helios is an example that's going to break the bank. They're very, very cheap still. But when you get into your Takamars and such as that, you're starting to really see the prices lift up a little bit. So these might be a better option if you want to get into that side of things. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there while I was on my walk. I was noticing the pictures on the back of the camera and they actually looked really cool. Again, I haven't seen them in the computer yet, so they might actually all be garbage. You'll know that before I will. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.